Everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to have a look back at some of the racing over the weekend. Who caught my eye? There was a few that were really obvious. There was a few that might not have been as obvious, but I still think they are very interesting going forward. Starting off talking about Flegmatik, who ran on Friday at Kempton over 2.5 miles. Now, I was really worried that he was going to win this race, and covered him on the basis that he is very well handicapped. He didn't win. He finished third. You can actually see he traded 1.81 in the run, so 4 to 5. Travelled nicely. Was it that he didn't pick up over this trip that's just short of his optimum, or was it that he, they realised he was going really well and thought, we're not even going to try and win this race? Because there is another race that they will obviously be aiming at, surely, and that is the Ladbrokes Trophy. Why will they be aiming here? So first of all, the race is worth significantly more. Last year it was worth, what was it worth last year? Let's have a look. Let's load up his form. We can see this race on Friday, was worth £11,000, which, is not to be sniffed at. However, the race that they should be looking at instead is this one here, which was worth 85. Last 2 years, this horse has run in it. Flegmatik, he's finished second off a mark of 100 and, just having a look on my other screen, 135, second off 135, and then last year was fourth, only beaten 2.5 lengths off 140. On Friday, he ran in this race here off a mark of 131. 131 will get him in that race at Kempton in a few weeks' time. I'm hoping the handicapper leaves him alone rather than drops him a pound, or he certainly shouldn't go up for that. Just leave him alone off 131 and he gets in right near the bottom of the handicap. Last year, 128 got you in. Actually, 126 got you in, but you were slightly out of the handicap. But yeah, for 131, surely he's going to running massive race in a couple of weeks' time. He's currently available at 12s. Do you know what? That's too big. That really is. I think Coral have got it about right, holding him at 6s. Others have pushed him out to 10s, 12s in places. I think that's a massive price. I think he goes there and I think he takes all of the beating. 15 to 2 last year off 140. 10 to 1 the year before of 135. He's going to be single figures come race day. And the fact that he's so well handicapped compared to his previous runs in the race, I think he goes off favourite, doesn't he? He goes off 7 to 2, 4 to 1 favourite for that race. And the fact that you can get 12s about him, I think that's a massive price. Moving on to the next race, the 120 at Naas, which was the race that normally works out in terms of the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. It is a race that has thrown up quite a few winners of that race, and the eye catcher and the horse to take out the race was surely Mercia, who, you look at the form here, we only have the English form. He does have French form. I'm saying he, it's actually a filly, sorry. She does have French form, and she's had enough runs over hurdles. She ran 4 times over hurdles in France. She's since had 2 runs over hurdles in Ireland. So she's had 6 runs over hurdles. She does qualify for that Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. They just need to request a handicap mark. It might be low enough that she could be very interesting. Got to remember, she went off 7 to 1 for a grade 2 when not jumping particularly well. It was a good race though. Hello Neighbour, Lady Vega Allen, Naturally Nimble, Willie de Hoy, all the right horses were in that race. I'm still quite a fan of Willie de Hoy for this juvenile hurdle. Let's just have a look, see if we can find a price about Mercia. When is the Boodles? Is it on day 1? It is. The Fred Winter, here we go. Willie de Hoy is 8. Mercia there, 12 to 1. Was 10 lengths behind Willie de Hoy. But she's not going to get the same handicap mark, I'm sure. I'm sure she's going to get a lower mark. She could be very well handicapped for that Fred Winter. And the three that I'm probably looking at for that race at this stage would be Willie de Hoy, Mercia, and Lavender Hill Mob. Mercia needs a handicap mark, but the other two would be very high on my list at the moment. Lavender Hill Mob might need to get another run into him before he gets a handicap mark and before he qualifies for that race. Just going to have a quick look on my other screen. Lavender Hill Mob. I think it's had 2 runs so far over hurdles. No, has already had the required 3 runs. Yeah, Lavender Hill Mob would definitely be one that I'd be keen on for that Fred Winter. Willie de Hoy, the other one, and Mercia has just thrown her hat into the ring for me. So I'll be looking at those 3 at the moment for the Fred Winter. Moving on to Warwick, to the Kingmakers, won by L'Eau de Sud. Now, they just went too early. That's the only reason Rabal started to run him down late on. They went too early. Whether they were looking to see whether that was the tactics they could use at Cheltenham to try and get the likes of Mansborough and Sergino beat, that isn't the tactics that will work. They've got to be waiting with L'Eau de Sud. But could they get him beat? Either of those 2 beat at the Cheltenham Festival, Sergino and Mansborough? No. L'Eau de Sud, yeah, probably will finish 3rd or 4th in the Arkle and run a nice race. But I think Sergino and Mansborough are well clear of the rest of them, and the prices reflect that. 225 at Newbury, the Denman Chase, won by Jello. Now, to be honest, Braveman's Game clearly isn't the force of old. Hitman is so unreliable. Everything else is handicappers. Jello has won that by default in the end. And he was backed accordingly. He was also, the way he was backed, I kind of feel that maybe Braveman's Game came here nowhere near ready. And granted, the Grand National could well be the main target for him. He is currently available in that race at 40s and 50s. That is a big price. He has dropped significantly in the weights. And he's going to drop again, isn't he, after that effort at the weekend. He was 3rd off 157. You know, say 154, considering he started the season rated 166, and now he's rated 154, maybe Connections have got it spot on. Could this have been the plan the whole season? They've not been trying in any of the other races. They've not tried in the King George. They didn't try in the Betfair Chase and made sure he got comfortably beaten. Was he going to win a Gold Cup? Probably not. So, yeah, maybe this was if he goes and wins the Grand National, well played, Paul Nicholls and Brian Drew and co. I'm not totally sure that they really have that much foresight. I don't think they looked that far out in front. And they would have gone, yeah, we've got a Gold Cup horse. We finished 5th in it last year. Things didn't quite go to plan, etc. We can come back for the Gold Cup. And this might be a second half of the season plan. So with that in mind, I wouldn't be rushing to back Braveman's Game at all for the Grand National, but maybe he's worth a small bet on him come race day if he's still around the 50 to 1 mark. In terms of Jello, he's probably going to end up in a Ryanair now. I don't like him though. I think there's better horses than that Ryanair, including Factor File. Moving on to Nace, this was, now we've moved to, no, we're still on Saturday. Lovely Hurling was a really, I was really impressed with the performance by Lovely Hurling, beating Auto Portrait, who you see had set some really good R figures. So I think this was just a very impressive performance from Lovely Hurling. Really interesting as well, considering in March 2024, he ran in a hurdle race, a maiden hurdle, and was sent off 80 to 1 as a 5-year-old. I don't know whether he just started training or just lacked all ability or didn't show anything, because to go off 80 to 1 and then on his next 2 runs to go off 6 to 5 favourite and 9 to 4 favourite in similar races, clearly something that, they had no interest of winning that that maiden on his first run. And with that in mind, because of that, and because he's now won, they've got to include that maiden hurdle form, that really disappointing run. They've got to include that form into his handicap mark that he'll get soon. Maybe there's a feature handicap they're aiming him at. Maybe there's something down the line. He won't go to Cheltenham. I don't think he's in any races at Cheltenham. I'm pretty sure he's not. And he wouldn't get in any of the handicaps because he's not had enough runs. So just keep an eye on Lovely Hurling, what they're doing with him. If he turns up in a feature handicap somewhere towards the back end of the season, maybe at Punchestown, maybe at Aintree, he's one that I'm kind of interested in going forward. I thought that was a very good performance to beat Auto Portrait, and even Jumper Len had set a good figure here at Punchestown. Yeah, Lovely Hurling is one that caught my eye as being interesting. Moving on to Utoxeter, the race won by Monbeg Genius. We obviously were on Brave Kingdom, who ran no sort of race, pulled up with a circuit to go. That's not his running. Paul Nicholls' horses maybe not quite over their flu jabs. But Monbeg Genius, therefore, won that on default, in my opinion. Had dropped down to a nice mark and was, justifying his... just demonstrating his ability, that he does still have that ability. Ran in the Ultima last year off 147. Ran in the year before off a mark of 140. Having won of 142, he's going to be higher in the handicap. So I wouldn't be backing him for the Ultima going forward. That might be his win for the season, Monbeg Genius. And we can see that Monbeg Genius is currently available at 16s. I wouldn't be rushing to back that. Another horse in that race that I would be interested in, though, is further down the list. This Lemilos. Now, Lemilos has gone and won at Warwick in a race that he was more than capable of winning, and he's one that I've been keeping my eye out for a little while. And I've said that he wants 3 miles. Now, we backed him at Warwick on the basis that he was so well handicapped he could end up winning that and then going to Cheltenham. Now, I wouldn't be giving up on him. Or not giving up on him. I wouldn't be saying he couldn't win at Cheltenham even in the Ultima off his new mark. Now, he beat Whistle in the Dark by 6 lengths, but Whistle in the Dark was only rated 122. Smarty Wild, who was third, was only rated 125. They can't push Lemilos up too much. I think they might give him 5 for that, and that would put him on a mark of 144. That's still £2 lower than when winning the Coral Gold Cup, formerly the Hennessy, off a £2 higher mark when sent off the 92 favourite. He would still be well handicapped on that bit of form. I wouldn't be against him in the Ultima. I thought last year they obviously tried to win the Pertemps final. It didn't quite work. He went off 6-1 that day off a mark of 142. If he gets £5 or less, I'd be very interested in him for the Ultima. I thought his return this year at Cheltenham over 3 mile 1 was a very good effort. He ran well for a long way before just getting tired. And to be fair, the right horses were in front of him. He's one that it's all about his new handicap mark. If the handicapper doesn't go stupid and he doesn't put him up 8, 10, 12 and just goes 3, 4, 5, he's one that I'm very interested in for the Ultima still. And it would be, I'd probably be looking at the moment for the Ultima, Broadway Boy at 20s, Lemilos at 25s. I'm still interested in both of Meeting of the Waters and Twig for that race. I think both of those could be interesting over that 3 mile trip. But yeah, I think those 2 that I've just mentioned are very interesting to me. Lemilos, all about his new handicap mark, and obviously, as I've highlighted before, Broadway Boy, I definitely like that one for the Ultima at this stage. Moving on to who's our next one that we're interested in. The William Hill Hurdle won impressively by Joyous, but the race was run to suit. They went way too hard. What Mirabad was doing, I've no idea. Who was riding Mirabad? Luke Scott, yeah, got that wrong. Went too hard at the front. The eye catchers for me, well, Joyous was very impressive, but won't get in at Cheltenham at the moment because hasn't had enough hurdle runs. And also, that new handicap mark is going to definitely reduce the chances for Joyous. Probably going to end up, would probably want to be running in the Coral Cup rather than the County Hurdle. But the two that definitely interest me going forward, Navajo Indy. We were on Navajo Indy for this race. Again, found it happening too quick. Did the same thing at Windsor. I was kind of hoping that he would be able to keep up this time. He wasn't. But he's ran on so well at the finish. You can actually see that he never shortened in the run because he was never with them. He's finished a never near a third. Got to go for the Coral Cup. I really like two for the Coral Cup at this stage. They are Be Aware, who is the favourite at 10-1, and Navajo Indy. Where is Navajo Indy for this? Navajo Indy at 20s. I thought that race just screamed, you've got to go for the Coral Cup. Rather than, shall we think about the County Hurdle? It was just ridiculous. He could not keep up over that 2 mile trip. They're going to go fast again at Cheltenham. And he won't keep up in the County Hurdle. He's got to go for the Coral Cup. But his form is good. I mean, he'd come into it off the back of a few wins. He then finished a never near a fourth at Windsor. And now he's finished a never near a third at Newbury in the William Hill Hurdle. Good races to you know, he's not been running in poor races even. Both been good races. I think he's got a massive chance in the Coral Cup now. And the other horse that I will be interested in looking at his new handicap mark is Go Dante, who you can see that he's run okay. Went off a massive price, 64.65 on Betfair on the exchanges, and reduced down to 11.0 in the run. Finished again a never near a 7th, beaten 16 lengths off a mark of 130. Now, 130 is a pound higher than when winning the Imperial Cup. He's going to drop. He was already due to drop to 128. He's going to drop again. I think he might drop down to 127, 126. If he turns up off 127, 126 for an Imperial Cup, a race that he won last year off a mark of 129 when sent off the 5-1 favourite, I'd be very interested in him, to be honest. Yeah, he's got to be aimed at that Imperial Cup and would definitely go there with a massive chance. We'll be looking at his new handicap mark. We then look at Panic Attack, who finished second in an anniversary handicap hurdle over 2.5. Was running off a £10 lower mark. Now, this ride didn't get enough attention for me. I thought wasn't given a good ride. I really like Harry Skelton. Thought he got this wrong, considering the horse only got beat by a head. She only lost by a head. She went far too wide. She had a chance just before turning into the straight that she could have nipped in front of a couple and ended up, say, third going round the bend, and then would have won, in my opinion. The fact that she would have been A, closer, and B, not having to give away all that ground going wide. Yeah, I think she should have won that race, to be honest. I know Dan Skelton's come out and said that, yes, we like her for the fence race over fences. They're probably looking at the plate. If and when she gets beat, if and when she runs in the plate and whatever she does, you then can go, well, now drop her back to hurdles again. There's this 2.5 mile handicap race back at Cheltenham, over 2.5, as I said. She's going to go up in the handicap for her defeat at Warwick, but they can't put her up too much. She got beat. She might go up £3-4 for that. If she goes up £4 and she turns up in this race off a new mark of 129, she'll still be lower than her chase mark. And yeah, you can see that the Skeltons had a runner in it last year who traded quite short, went just over 5-2, but wasn't good enough, about 11-4 actually, but didn't pick up. It's worth 26 grand. They might as well try and win it. The race they ran in at the weekend was only worth 15. I think that's the perfect race for Panic Attack. After she's been to Cheltenham, come back for the hurdle race. They might as well take advantage of our lower handicap mark over hurdles. Another one that Heracles Westwood, I thought was given a poor ride. I thought James Bowen got this wrong on Heracles Westwood. Rode the horse with far too much confidence and made a mistake at, like, I think it was like the third last or the fourth last, and lost so much ground coming into that. It jumped it so slowly and was never able to close after that. And I feel that James gave up quite quickly. This is one that I want to give another chance to. Because he was beaten, might drop in the handicap. That would be, really lovely, because I still think the horse could have won off this mark. I thought he was given far too much to do in a race where they weren't, of course, they weren't really picking up because of the ground. I'm not giving up on Heracles Westwood. A similar race next time, and I think James just needs to be a little bit more positive and keep the horse involved. And I still think the horse could have won off this mark if the horse is dropped slightly. Yeah, very interesting next time. We then move on to talking about Regent Stroll, who got beat in a listed hurdle. I mean, Andrew's got it spot on. Tom Malone is the only real winner with these purchases. Nichols needs to appoint a new Bloodstock agent. Look at some of these that they've spent ridiculous money on. Regent Stroll 660, July Flower 350, Stay Away Fave 325, Rabao 200. Why would you be spending 200 grand on a horse who's just listed class? Some of these are just mental. Tom Malone is making an absolute fortune for very moderate horses. Moving on to the Pertemps qualifier. Everyone saw the eye catcher here, didn't they? Everyone saw that. What on earth was that on Jericho de Repenay? He was ridden to qualify. He's qualified. Yeah. Goes to Pertemps final. I don't have a huge angle into this at the moment, but Jericho de Repenay goes right near the top of my list now. I think this horse is really good. I do think he's good enough to be winning graded races in the future. Over hurdles and over fences, but this race was he was just ridden in such a manner that they had no interest of winning the race. They had no interest of winning at Newbury the time before. They've now got him qualified for the Pertemps final, and I think suddenly he'll turn the corner come Cheltenham, and I think he's going to run a massive race there. The form angle over the weekend that worked out really well was this one here. Woodhu's defeat of Joyous, Take No Chances, Royal Margot. It's, all three of these have won decent races since: a listed, a feature handicap, and a grade 2. The horse I want to keep an eye out for is back in 6th, Sweet Fantasy. Ran well to finish 6th, and then was going to win, in my opinion, the Hogmanay Hurdle at Musselburgh on New Year's Day, when making a complete mess of the second last. Had gone just 11 to 10 in the run. I think Sweet Fantasy was going to win that day. Now, I really want to see her aimed at this race. Nope. Oh, have I not loaded it up? I haven't. I want to see her aimed at the Sussex Champion Hurdle at Plumpton. She's been to Plumpton before. She won. It's decent prize money. It's a 2-mile race, which I think will suit Sweet Fantasy. You can see that Sweet Fantasy, her win, did come over 2-mile at Plumpton. I think she will be back to Plumpton for the Sussex Champion Hurdle. It was worth 39 grand to win it last year. This is a horse that I definitely want to keep an eye out for, Sweet Fantasy. And I think the Sussex Champion Hurdle is the perfect race. Jason Budd will be likely on Our Champ in that race. Obviously, Our Champ won it last year by 11 lengths, won it really impressively. Is up higher in the weights, £14 at the moment. Probably going to drop a couple for his effort in the William Hill Hurdle. But yes, will still be higher, and I would be happy to take on Our Champ and the rest of the Sussex Champion Hurdle field with Sweet Fantasy. So it's just a few thoughts from the weekend. I think the main one to take out, definitely want to take out Flegmatik for that race in a couple of weeks back at Kempton. It's worth so much prize money. And there was a few other thoughts for Cheltenham.